Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Points of Articulation. My name's Dave, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. Today I'm looking at the Hot Wheels Star Wars Starships Select Gauntlet. This is number 24 in the set and released in 2024. This ship was first seen in Star Wars The Clone Wars, released in 2010. So the Gauntlet, or Gauntlet Fighter as many people call it, has a long history in Star Wars that goes all the way back to the Clone Wars. We've seen it a couple times in that show, we've seen it in Rebels, and also in The Mandalorian. It is a very interesting ship, used as a troop carrier, a fighter, and even a dropship, where the whole bottom will open up and like 20-something Mandalorians with jetpacks drop out and fly off to go battle. This thing is amazing. And I love that in the shows and movies, the wings could actually rotate around. This model may not have the rotating wings that can go all the way around like this, but they do fold up for landing mode, which is pretty cool, and we'll take a look at that in just a few. So in the canon, we've seen these ships piloted by Pre Vizsla, Darth Maul himself, and also Bo-Katan Kryze. So enough of me yapping, let's get right to the review. If you're new to the channel, what I'd like to do is go over the mold, show off all the fine details and major points, then we'll put it on a stand, look at the paint and other dimensions, compare it to some other pieces, and then we'll be done. So let's get started. Alright, looking at the mold, just like in all my videos, I will go over all the major sections, and then we'll get a nice zoom in to see all those fine details. So when it comes to the parts of this particular ship, it's very basic, even though it has a very awesome design. Laser cannons are in the front, right here. We have our cockpit. Then on the sides, we have our engines, which also act as landing gear, and we'll get to that in a few. Very detailed. In the aft, right here, we have our airlock and boarding ramp. So that's kind of cool. On the bottom, we have 9 rivets holding this together, which I believe is like the winner of rivets for any of these models. So that's kind of interesting. We have a peg port for the stand, copyright crap, and this section from about here to here is the troop bay doors. So Mandalorians would sit in this section, the doors would open, and the troops would come out and fly off with their jetpacks. So pretty awesome stuff. But basically, that's all the parts of this ship. I have no information on where missiles would be launched from or anything like that, but this model does feature moving parts, which is the wings. So let's check that out. When looking at the wing sections, what you do is you grab the center, take your wing, rotate, and it will snap into position. And it looks fantastic. Lots of hidden details are now shown. And it looks pretty cool. Now the only problem is you would think that it would sit like this and be level, but nope. You put this down on a surface and it will lean forward, no matter which way I put it on the desk. So that kind of stinks, but you could put it on a stand and give it a nice unique display for your collection. Pretty neat nonetheless. To close it, simply grab the sides, they move in unison, and they snap back into position. So pretty cool. I love when ships have moving parts like that. It adds so much to the miniature. So now that all the major parts are gone over, let's have a closer look at those details. Alright, now looking at the mold close up, we're only going to focus on one wing section since they are identical, and then the center body. So for the wing, we could start with nice line work, little molded sections, and as we go down, it gets better and better. Just look at all this detail. Love the paneling, and this blue section here is fantastic. You can see how the paint wash gets in most of the nooks and crannies and really brings this ship to life. See some pipes molded on this side. More detailing. And once we get to the aft section here with the engines, we see some great detailing start to come out. Look at that. Beautiful. Very detailed. Nice panel lines, different raised sections. The recessed section right here with all the engine components. Pretty cool. And on the left, we have this nice little rounded area where it connects to the main ship. And if I turn it, you can see everything is either raised up or sunken in. You know, nothing is really flat on here, which is awesome. Very, very nice. I really like the engine sections as well. Some nice shapes on there. Beautiful molding. If I turn it this way, you can see nothing is flat here. Pretty cool. Coming on the sides, we have some minor molding here and there. Nothing really to write home about. Until we get to the aft section right here, which looks pretty cool. And then this nice little taper here. As you can see, it sort of thins out like a triangle. I think that came out great. Pretty cool. Now I'll cover the engines after we go over the wing. But, again, nicely detailed. Again, the detailing is pretty much similar from the top and bottom, just minor differences. But magnificently detailed nonetheless. There's our rivet. And more rivets. Pretty nice. Turning it this way. See all the detailing on there. And in my opinion, it looks good. Now, to be honest, this section here just looks like the top, but it's unpainted. If I turn it over, you can see what I mean. See the extra wash. You got that like gunmetal here. Gunmetal on the bottom. Has a little bluish hint to it. But when I turn it over, it's the same exact type of mold, just not really painted. Curious. And like I said, it's the same on this side. We're not really missing out. But cool nonetheless. Now, if I do open it up and zoom in onto the wing interior, there is nothing really there. So we're not really missing out. Now for the main body underneath, you could see where it connects to the wing. And it's really cool. If I shut it, no, nothing really comes in contact. You can see there's this little tiny gap right there. So that's kind of neat. So before we get to the center section, let's look at those engines. And they look fantastic. Really cool. I love how we have the little pads on the sides and the top. Nice. Engines are a little recessed in, which is pretty cool. And we have this little vent on this side. Nice. Turn it this way. Just beautiful. I think that came out great. And it's the same for this side. No real differences whatsoever. Now for the main body, here we have our entry hatch or airlock. You can see the detailing around here is amazing. Nicely done. Coming up to the bottom, we have a couple of rivets, peg port for the stand, but just beautifully detailed. Now, if memory serves me right, instead of the wings just being able to go into a landing position, these should be able to rotate around this center right here. This model does not do that, but they molded it like it could, so that's kind of neat. Coming up, we have more paneling, which is cool. Copyright crap. Another rivet. Some raised sections. And then we have our laser cannons molded in right there. And more line work. Nice. For the top of the vessel, the aft looks almost identical. No real differences there. Just a little heavier on the paint wash. We have the rotation area painted. Then we have our cockpit. And you can see some nice line work. Little raised sections here and there. But the cockpit looks very cool. The windows aren't recessed in or anything like that for the most part. But it still looks pretty awesome. Very clean paint on here, I must say. Coming right down the body of the fuselage. Again, looking pretty sharp. Nice. Now, before we conclude, there is detail on the sides. Maybe this way is better light. There we go. We can see the beautiful detail in here. Coming right down the main body. Excellent. All in all, this is a great looking ship. So that does it for the mold on the Gauntlet. Hopefully I covered everything. There was a lot to discuss. I wanted to move through it. I know I could be long-winded, so if I missed something, I do apologize. But this is a great ship. The moving parts are a huge plus. So now let's put it on a stand. And now looking at the stand for the Gauntlet Starfighter, first we have the Night Owls symbol. Then we have Gauntlet Starfighter in silver paint, which looks awesome. The base itself is a nice glossy black. Then in the front, we have Star Wars and Hot Wheels molded in. Underneath, we have copyright crap. Now the second part we have is our pylon. Place it in like so, hear that snap, and you're good to go. Grab your vessel, peg the ball joint into the port, press, and then you are good to go. Alright, looking at the paint on the Gauntlet, this bad boy features about 8 different colors. We have gray, dark gray, blue, glossy black, orange, a metallic gray, a dark metallic gray, or I guess we could call it gunmetal gray, and also a dark gray wash. For the vessel's size, it comes in at 4.17 inches or 106.07 millimeters in length. For the ship's weight, it comes in at 3.39 ounces or 96.12 grams. And now for a size comparison with the Hot Wheels Star Wars Starships Select Gauntlet Fighter seen in the center, I have it next to some other Starship Select vehicles. First, on the right hand side, we have the Razor Crest, looking dope. And on the left, we have Boba Fett's Starship, aka Slave One. And you can see how all these vessels go great together. If you would like to see reviews of any of the ships here, check the links in the description below. And that's everything I have to say today for the Hot Wheels Star Wars Starship Select Gauntlet. Again, it's number 24 in the set and released in 2024. Now, I'll be brief. The mold is phenomenal, lots of great detailing, and the moving parts are pretty awesome. I love how the wings can go up and down. Now for the paint, it has some great color choices here. I personally just wish it had some extra paint on the ventral side of the wing to match the top. And finally, it does come with that great glossy black stand, which makes it unify with the rest of the collection, which, as we all know, I'm a massive fan of. And that's everything I have to say about this awesome ship today. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, and as always, Thank you so much for taking time out of your hectic schedules to watch my show. It really means a lot to me, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, everybody.